The Universal Defense Summit. The crystalline spires of Station Nexus pierced the star-studded void of space like frozen lightning, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 nearby suns. Inside the station's Grand Exhibition Hall, representatives from over 200 spacefaring civilizations gathered for the 847th Universal Defense Summit, the galaxy's most prestigious showcase of military and survival technology. Commander Diana Foster stood at attention behind the Earth Federation's modest display, her weathered face betraying no emotion as another group of Zentarian delegates passed by with barely concealed smirks. Their own exhibit, positioned directly across the aisle, featured a demonstration of their latest phase shift armor, a technological marvel that could supposedly render its wearer virtually invincible by shifting them between dimensional planes. Another fascinating demonstration of human persistence, drawled High Commander Vexthor, his bioluminescent tentacles pulsing with what Diana had learned to recognize as amusement. The Zentarian leader's 8 eyes blinked in synchronized patterns of derision as he regarded the KR-X9 resilience suit displayed at the center of Earth's booth. Diana's second-in-command, Lieutenant James Harrison, tensed beside her. At 32, he was the youngest officer ever appointed to the Interstellar Defense Initiative, and his patience for alien condescension hadn't yet developed the calluses that Diana's had over her 20 years of service. The KR-X9 may not shimmer like liquid starlight or bend reality, Diana replied evenly, but it will keep its wearer alive when everything else fails. The suit in question stood like a silent sentinel in its display case. Unlike the sleek, almost ethereal designs of alien defensive systems, the KR-X9 was undeniably human in its appearance. Its dark gray plates were thick and angular, with visible joints and reinforced segments that made no attempt to disguise their purpose. The helmet, with its distinctive T-shaped visor, looked more like something from humanity's medieval past than the product of 23rd century engineering. Charming, Vexthor replied, his tentacles now glowing with a deeper purple of genuine pity. You humans still think in terms of brute force solutions. While the rest of us have moved beyond physical barriers to embrace quantum mechanics and energy manipulation, you continue to build walls. Before Diana could respond, a new voice cut through the conversation. And sometimes, High Commander, walls are exactly what you need. Dr. Rajesh Patel, the lead engineer of the KR-X9 project, stepped forward from his workstation. His dark eyes gleamed with the same quiet confidence that had convinced Diana to support his seemingly impossible project 3 years ago. The gathering crowd of alien delegates, now including several Arcturians with their crystalline bodies and a group of ethereal nomad consciousness housed in floating orbs, created a small semicircle around Earth's exhibit. Diana recognized the familiar signs of what was about to become a spectacle. It wasn't the first time human technology had drawn an audience at these events, though usually not for reasons that favored Earth. The KR-X9 resilience suit, Dr. Patel continued, his voice carrying the weight of countless sleepless nights and breakthrough moments, represents a fundamental shift in survival technology. While our esteemed colleagues focus on preventing or deflecting damage, we asked a different question: what if everything else fails? A ripple of murmuring passed through the crowd. An Arcturian delegate stepped forward, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated skepticism. You designed for failure rather than success. This is precisely why humanity remains in the lower tiers of galactic civilization. Diana watched as Dr. Patel maintained his composed demeanor, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. She knew what was coming, the same presentation they had rehearsed countless times, but which never failed to silence the doubters, at least momentarily. Computer, Patel commanded, initiate protocol demonstration alpha. The holographic display sprang to life around the KR-X9, showing simulation after simulation of catastrophic scenarios. Massive radiation bursts, gravitational forces that could crush neutron stars, temperatures ranging from absolute zero to the surface of a sun, and through each simulation, the suit's integrity remained stable. The KR-X9 doesn't try to prevent these forces from existing, Patel explained as the simulations played out. It works with them, channels them, disperses them through systems that are deliberately redundant and over-engineered. Where quantum fields fail and energy shields collapse, simple principles of physics, combined with materials science we've spent decades perfecting, continue to function. The crowd's derision had shifted to something else, not quite respect, but perhaps the first seedlings of doubt in their own certainty. High Commander Vexthor's tentacles had shifted to a more neutral shade of blue, a sign that he was, at least, processing this new information. As Diana surveyed the gathered delegates, she caught glimpses of other human representatives scattered throughout the crowd. Each wore the same expression she knew was on her own face, a mixture of pride and anticipation. Because while the KR-X9 was impressive enough in simulations, none of these aliens knew what was coming. None of them had seen the suit's true capabilities demonstrated in real-world conditions. And if Dr. Patel's calculations were correct, they wouldn't have to wait long for that demonstration. The recently detected anomaly in the Carina Nebula was right on schedule. The exhibition hall's artificial atmosphere hummed with tension as Dr. Patel's holographic demonstration concluded. Lieutenant Harrison monitored the sensor readings on his datapad, his eyes flickering between the numbers and the growing crowd. The readings from the Carina Nebula were intensifying faster than their initial projections had suggested. Impressive simulations, a new voice cut through the murmurs. A tall, elegant figure glided forward, Ambassador Lyra of the Heliosians, her form composed of pure energy contained within a humanoid shape. But simulations can be programmed to show whatever their creators desire. The Heliosian collective remembers humanity's last great demonstration, and its spectacular failure. Diana felt her jaw tighten at the reminder of the Jakarta incident, where an early prototype of human shield technology had catastrophically failed during a similar exhibition. 12 dead, 3 species sworn off any future cooperation with Earth's defense initiatives. It had taken 5 years just to regain admission to the Universal Defense Summit. The difference, Ambassador, Dr. Patel replied, his calm voice carrying across the now silent hall, is that we learn from Jakarta. Every failure, every setback, they're not just data points. They're lessons written in sacrifice and determination. He approached the KR-X9 suit and placed his hand on its chest plate. This isn't just armor. It's the culmination of every mistake we've made, every loss we've suffered, and every lesson we've learned. The material you're looking at. We call it atom and core. It took 15 years and 300 failed attempts to create it. The suit's surface seemed to ripple under his touch, the nanoscale structures realigning themselves in response to the contact. Several alien scientists leaned forward, their various sensing organs focused intently on the reaction. The outer layer contains over 60 million microscopic adjustment units, Patel continued. Each one capable of altering its molecular structure in response to external threats. But unlike your phase shift technology, High Commander, he nodded to Vexthor, these changes are purely mechanical. No quantum fields to fail, no energy matrices to collapse. A young Arcturian scientist pushed forward, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement. But the power requirements must be astronomical. The computational demands alone are handled by this, Diana interrupted, reaching into a nearby case and withdrawing what looked like a simple black cube. The Human Analog Neural Network. Or as we call it, HAN. The crowd's reaction was immediate and dismissive. A neural network? Human computing technology was notoriously primitive compared to the quantum consciousness engines used by most advanced species. You're using silicon-based computing? The Arcturian's voice carried both disbelief and something close to second-hand embarrassment. Even your own scientists abandoned that technology centuries ago. Precisely, Harrison spoke up, stepping forward. We abandoned it, then we rebuilt it. Han doesn't try to match the processing power of quantum systems. It thinks the way we think, adaptively, intuitively, and most importantly, reliably. Dr. Patel nodded, bringing up a new holographic display. In extreme conditions, quantum systems become unpredictable. The more powerful they are, the more catastrophically they fail. But Han, with its relatively simple architecture, continues functioning even under conditions that would shred quantum coherence. The display showed a succession of stress tests. In each one, the suited figure survived while the environment around it was torn apart at the subatomic level. The images were crude compared to the elegant holographic presentations of other species, but their message was undeniable. High Commander Vexthor's tentacles had shifted to a deep green, a sign of intellectual engagement among his species. You've deliberately engineered technological regression. We prefer to call it strategic simplification, Diana replied. Sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the most reliable one. As if on cue, Harrison's datapad emitted a soft but urgent tone. He glanced at it, then met Diana's eyes with a subtle nod. The readings from the Carina Nebula had just exceeded critical threshold. Diana felt a familiar tightness in her chest, the same sensation she'd experienced before every major operation in her career. Because what none of these beings knew, what no one outside of a select few humans knew, was that the KR-X9 wasn't just another demonstration model. It was a working prototype, and she was its pilot. The ambassador's energy form flickered as she processed the data being presented. Your approach is unusual, she admitted. But surely you don't expect us to believe that this primitive technology could survive conditions that our most advanced systems cannot? Diana allowed herself a small smile as she checked her own readings. The anomaly was now less than 30 minutes from impact. Actually, Ambassador, she replied, I expect you'll see exactly that. Sooner than you think. Throughout the hall, other human representatives began quietly moving into their predetermined positions. Dr. Patel's fingers danced across his control panel, initiating the suit's pre-activation sequence. The KR-X9 surface began to emit a soft, pulsing glow, not the flashy bioluminescence of alien tech, but the steady heartbeat of a machine built for survival. What the aliens saw as a primitive exhibition piece was about to become humanity's greatest achievement, or its most public failure. And the universe itself was about to provide the ultimate testing ground. The first warning came not from any advanced alien detection system, but from the subtle vibration in the station's structural supports. Diana felt it through her boots, a low-frequency tremor that anyone else might have dismissed as normal station operations. But she knew better. The Carina anomaly had arrived. Status report, she whispered into her communicator, careful to keep her voice below the ongoing debates around Earth's exhibit. Energy spike detected at the nebula's edge, Harrison replied quietly, his eyes fixed on his datapad. Magnitude exceeding all previous calculations. This is bigger than we anticipated, Commander. Above them, through the exhibition hall's transparent ceiling, the eternal night of space began to change. The distant stars seemed to blur, their light bending in impossible ways. Several alien delegates paused their conversations, their various sensory organs turning skyward. High Commander Vexthor's tentacles suddenly flashed brilliant white, a sign of extreme alarm among his species. Impossible, he whispered, his own instruments now registering the approaching phenomenon. The quantum barriers, they're already starting to destabilize. The station's AI finally caught up to what the humans had known was coming. Warning klaxons blared through the exhibition hall, their urgent tone cutting through the sophisticated discussions and technological debates. Attention all delegates, the AI's voice resonated through the chamber. Critical spatial anomaly detected. Quantum shield integrity at 89% and falling. Please proceed to your designated evacuation points. Panic erupted in waves. Delegates rushed to activate their personal defense systems. The air filled with the hum of energy shields, the shimmer of phase shift devices, and the glow of countless protective technologies. The Heliosian ambassador's energy form fluctuated wildly as she attempted to establish a stable containment field. Diana turned to Dr. Patel, who was already initiating the KR-X9's launch sequence. Time to show them what human engineering can do, she said, stepping onto the platform beside the suit. The protective casing around the KR-X9 retracted. Up close, the suit looked even more primitive, its armored plates bearing none of the elegant designs or flowing patterns that characterized alien technology. But as it opened to receive its pilot, there was a precise mechanical beauty to its movements. "Commander," Harrison stepped forward, concern evident in his voice. "The latest readings, this event is at least 3 times stronger than anything we tested for." Diana paused halfway through the mounting sequence. "Good," she replied with a grim smile. "Then we'll finally know the suit's true limits." The exhibition hall's chaos increased as the first effects of the anomaly reached them. Quantum-based technologies began to fail, their sophisticated systems unable to maintain coherence in the face of the approaching wave front. The Arcturion's crystalline forms showed signs of stress fractures, while the nomad consciousness orbs flickered dangerously. "All phase shift systems are non-responsive," Vexthor announced, his tentacles now a pale gray of fear. "The quantum field is too unstable for dimensional transfers." Diana watched as the alien delegates' confidence crumbled along with their technology. The same beings who had mocked Earth's primitive approach were now facing the possibility that their advanced systems might not save them. The KR-X9 sealed around her with a series of mechanical clicks and pneumatic hisses. No quantum fields, no dimensional shifting, just layers of carefully engineered protection between her and the approaching chaos. The HUD came online, hand-simple but effective interface displaying environmental readings in clear, unambiguous numbers. "All systems nominal," Dr. Patel's voice came through the internal speakers. "Han is processing environmental data and adapting the atom and core structure. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Through the suit's visor, Diana watched as cracks began to appear in the exhibition hall's ceiling. The quantum-reinforced transparent material, supposedly indestructible, was failing under the strain of the approaching anomaly. Emergency force fields flickered and died, their energy matrices torn apart by the same forces they were meant to contain. "Listen up." Diana's amplified voice cut through the panic. "All delegates with failed protection systems, move to my position. The rest of you, maintain your defensive measures as long as possible." Several aliens turned to stare at her in disbelief. The idea that human technology might offer protection when their advanced systems had failed seemed to challenge everything they believed about technological progression. Ambassador Lyra, her energy form now barely contained, spoke up. "You cannot seriously believe that armor will protect us from a cosmic event that's destroying quantum fields." "Believe what you want, Ambassador," Diana replied, checking the suit's readings one final time. "But in about 30 seconds, belief won't matter. Only survival will." The station shuddered violently as the first major wave hit. Above them, the reinforced ceiling finally gave way, exposing the exhibition hall to the vacuum of space. Emergency containment fields failed to activate. In that moment, as the impossible forces of a dying star reached toward them, the galaxy's most advanced civilizations found themselves facing extinction. And standing between them and oblivion was a human woman in what they had dismissed as primitive armor, about to prove that sometimes the simplest solution was the strongest one. Space itself seemed to tear apart as the anomaly's full force struck Station Nexus. The exhibition hall, with its failed quantum barriers and collapsed shields, should have been instantaneously destroyed. Instead, a strange bubble of stability formed around the KR-X9 suit. Diana stood firm as the atom and core plates of her armor shifted and adapted, each microscopic unit working in perfect mechanical harmony. The suit's external sensors registered forces that should have atomized everything in their path, yet the simplified brilliance of human engineering held strong. "Hand processing at 82% capacity," Dr. Patel's voice crackled through the internal comm, structural integrity maintaining. "The suit is actually learning from the event, Commander." Around her, alien delegates watched in astonishment as their sophisticated defensive technologies continued to fail. The Zentarian phase shift devices flickered out completely, leaving their users exposed to the cosmic onslaught. The Heliosian ambassador's energy form began to disperse in the chaotic quantum field. Everyone inside the suit's projection field. Diana commanded, activating the KR-X9's experimental shield extension system. It won't be comfortable, but it will keep you alive. A group of delegates rushed toward her position as another wave of destructive energy washed over the station. The KR-X9's shield, a bare few meters of protected space, became the only safe haven in the rapidly disintegrating exhibition hall. High Commander Vexthor, his tentacles now completely colorless with fear, pressed against the invisible barrier of Diana's protection field. How, he managed to ask. How is this possible? Because we built it to endure, not to resist, Diana replied, the suit's systems automatically adjusting to accommodate the increasing load. Your technologies try to bend reality. Ours simply refuses to break. Lieutenant Harrison worked furiously at his datapad, now protected within the shield bubble. Station structural integrity at 12% and falling. We need to get these people to the emergency pods. Diana nodded inside her helmet. Han, calculate optimal path to evacuation section Delta. The suit's neural network processed the request with mathematical simplicity, plotting a course through the chaos that would maximize their chances of survival. No quantum calculations, no reality manipulation, just pure, efficient problem solving. Follow my lead, Diana ordered, beginning the careful movement toward the evacuation points. The shield bubble moved with her, protecting the huddled group of aliens who had moments ago dismissed human technology as primitive. As they navigated the disintegrating station, the true scale of the catastrophe became clear. Advanced defense systems lay shattered everywhere. The beautiful crystalline architecture that had seemed so indestructible now crumbled like sugar glass. But the KR-X9, with its primitive design and simplified technology, continued to function perfectly. A new dawn. The rescue operation lasted 3 hours. 3 hours of constant exposure to forces that, according to every advanced calculation, should have destroyed even the most sophisticated protection systems. Yet the KR-X9 never faltered. When the final evacuation pod launched, carrying the last group of delegates to safety, Diana remained behind with her team to ensure the station's reactor wouldn't destabilize and threaten nearby systems. It was only after everything was secured that they finally allowed themselves to process what had happened. Final status report, Diana called out as she initiated the suit's power-down sequence. Harrison looked up from his datapad, a slight smile playing at his lips. 342 delegates saved. 0 casualties. And he paused for effect, 17 formal requests from various species for information about human defensive technology. Dr. Patel was already analyzing the suit's performance data. The Adaman core actually improved its structural integrity during the event. Han's adaptive algorithms, they evolved. We didn't just survive, Commander. We proved every theory we had about simplicity versus complexity. As Diana finally stepped out of the KR-X9, she found Ambassador Lyra waiting. The Heliosian's energy form had stabilized, but her usual confident glow was notably dimmed. Commander Foster, the ambassador began, her voice carrying an unfamiliar note of humility. The Heliosian collective wishes to revise its previous assessment of human technological development. No revision needed, Ambassador, Diana replied, running a hand over the suit's battle-scarred surface. We never claimed to be more advanced. We just chose a different path. In the days that followed, as the galactic community processed the events at Station Nexus, humanity's standing in the universe underwent a fundamental shift. The species that had been dismissed as technological primitives was suddenly seen in a new light. The KR-X9 resilient suit became the foundation for a new philosophy in defensive technology. Across the galaxy, civilizations began to recognize that progress didn't always mean greater complexity. Sometimes, it meant finding strength in simplicity, reliability in ruggedness, and wisdom in learning from failure. 1 month later, at the emergency session of the Galactic Council, Earth was unanimously elevated to top-tier status in technological achievement. But more importantly, the concept of advanced technology itself was forever changed. As Diana stood at the podium, accepting humanity's new position in the galactic community, she reflected on the journey that had brought them here. They had never needed to match alien technology. They had simply needed to be themselves, practical, resilient, and unafraid to take a different path. The universe is vast and often hostile, she addressed the assembled delegates, many of whom she had personally saved. But survival doesn't always require us to master it. Sometimes, we just need to be stubborn enough to endure it. The KR-X9 stood on display behind her, its scarred surface and angular design now a symbol not of primitive engineering, but of a different kind of advancement. It was proof that in a universe of infinite possibilities, the simplest solution was sometimes the most powerful one. And as humanity stepped into its new role among the stars, they carried with them the lesson they had always known: true strength lies not in avoiding failure, but in learning to survive it. The end.